Picture this for a moment. You're standing in a crowded city, surrounded by millions. But did you know that just a few states over, entire communities are made up of people who aren't even supposed to be there? From border towns bursting at the seams to hidden suburban enclaves, illegal immigration is reshaping America in ways most people don't even realize. Which states are seeing the biggest influx? And what does that mean for the people who live there? Some of these numbers will shock you. If you call one of these states home, you might be witnessing history unfold right outside your door. Number 10. California. Think you know which state has the most illegal immigrants? You'd be right, because it's California. But guess what? The numbers are staggering. Over 2.6 million undocumented immigrants live here, more than in any other state. That's larger than the entire population of some U.S. cities. From Los Angeles to the Bay Area, the influx has reshaped entire neighborhoods, schools, and job markets. But here's what they won't tell you. California spends billions in public services for undocumented immigrants: healthcare, education, even legal aid. Is it sustainable? Some say it's an economic boost, others say it's a crisis. But what do you think? Number 9. Texas. Now, let's talk about the state that's nearly caught up to California, Texas. With 2.1 million illegal immigrants, Texas isn't just a hotspot, it's a battleground. Border towns are overwhelmed, detention centers are at capacity, and yet the numbers keep growing. But here's where it gets wild. Texas isn't just absorbing new arrivals, it's also seeing some leave. Why? Housing costs in big cities like Austin and Dallas are skyrocketing. Some undocumented workers are heading elsewhere. But still, the state spends over $850 million annually on immigration enforcement alone. Is it working? Before we continue, make sure you subscribe so we can keep bringing you these eye-opening reports. Your support helps us keep the truth coming. Now, let's move on. If you think immigration is just a border state issue, think again. There's another state with nearly 600,000 undocumented immigrants, and it's nowhere near the southern border. But why is this state such a magnet? And more importantly, is the situation under control or spiraling out of hand? Number 8. Florida. You'd think illegal immigration is just a problem for border states, right? Wrong. The numbers will shock you, because one of the biggest hubs for undocumented immigrants is Florida. With nearly 600,000 illegal immigrants calling the Sunshine State home, the reality is far different from what many people expect. But why Florida? What's driving this massive influx? One word: jobs. Florida's booming tourism, agriculture, and construction industries are magnets for undocumented workers. Hotels, restaurants, farms, they all rely heavily on labor that often comes from those without legal status. But here's the twist: Florida is cracking down. The state recently passed some of the strictest immigration laws in the country, making it harder for businesses to hire undocumented workers and even requiring hospitals to ask about patients' immigration status. The result? Mass panic. Some undocumented workers are fleeing the state altogether, leaving businesses scrambling for labor. But that's not the only problem. The cost of supporting this population is staggering. Florida taxpayers spend billions on public services for undocumented immigrants, from healthcare to education. And guess what? Some school districts are at breaking points. Overcrowded classrooms, budget shortfalls, and tensions in local communities are rising. But here's where it gets even crazier. Despite these challenges, Florida still remains one of the top destinations for illegal immigration. Why? Because even with tougher laws, the demand for labor outweighs the risks. Now, with state policies shifting, some undocumented immigrants are choosing to relocate. But where are they going? And what happens if Florida keeps tightening restrictions? The consequences could reshape the entire state's workforce and economy. Number 7. New Jersey. You might assume illegal immigration is mostly a southern issue. Think again, because sitting at number 4 on the list is New Jersey, with nearly 500,000 undocumented immigrants. You'd be shocked at how deep this issue runs here. Why is New Jersey such a hotspot? Simple: proximity and policies. Just across the river from New York City, New Jersey has become a haven for undocumented workers, particularly in urban centers like Newark, Jersey City, and Paterson. The Garden State has some of the most immigrant-friendly policies in the country, offering driver's licenses, in-state tuition, and even legal defense funds for undocumented residents. Sounds welcoming, right? But here's the other side. Taxpayers are footing the bill. The numbers don't lie. New Jersey spends hundreds of millions annually on public services for its undocumented population. And it doesn't stop there. Rising rents, job competition, and overcrowding are pushing tensions higher. In some areas, nearly 1 in 10 residents is undocumented. But here's where it gets wild. Despite the challenges, many local leaders want even more protections for illegal immigrants. Why? Some argue it keeps the economy running, while others say it's draining resources. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe so we can keep bringing you these eye-opening reports. Your support helps us uncover the truth and share it with you. Now, let's move on. If you think immigration issues are just affecting the coasts or border states, think again. Because there's another state, one that might not even be on your radar, where the numbers are staggering. With over 400,000 undocumented immigrants, this state's policies are some of the most controversial in the nation. But here's the real question. Is it helping or making things worse? Number 6. Illinois. If you thought illegal immigration was just a problem for coastal states, you'd be dead wrong. Because sitting in the heart of the Midwest is Illinois, home to over 400,000 undocumented immigrants. And here's where things get wild. Chicago alone accounts for the vast majority, making it one of the largest sanctuary cities in America. But guess what? It's not just about the numbers, it's about what's happening behind the scenes. Illinois has some of the most immigrant-friendly policies in the country, even allowing undocumented immigrants to get state-funded health care. That's right. While many states debate immigration crackdowns, Illinois is spending millions to ensure undocumented residents have access to benefits that some legal citizens in other states don't even get. And here's the real shocker. Despite being a sanctuary state, Illinois is struggling to keep up. Migrant shelters are overflowing, local governments are pleading for federal help, and in some areas, crime concerns are rising. Just look at Chicago. The city has spent hundreds of millions accommodating new arrivals, with no clear end in sight. But is it sustainable? Some say the state is doing the right thing, while others argue it's a ticking time bomb. The real question is, how much longer can Illinois handle this influx? With an already strained budget and increasing political tensions, the situation is only getting more complicated. But one thing's for sure, Illinois is at the center of a debate that's only growing louder. Number 5. New York. Think illegal immigration is only a southern border crisis? Think again. Because New York is sitting near the top of the list, with over 410,000 undocumented immigrants. And here's the real shocker. It's not just about the numbers. It's about how fast things are spiraling. At the heart of it all? New York City. The city is in full-blown crisis mode. Shelters have maxed out, hotels have been converted into migrant housing, and even Mayor Eric Adams himself has warned that the situation could destroy the city. Yet despite the mounting pressure, New York remains a magnet for undocumented immigrants. But why? It all comes down to one thing: benefits. New York offers some of the most generous incentives for undocumented immigrants in the entire country. We're talking free health care, legal assistance, and even work authorization. Sounds great, right? But here's where it gets messy. Because guess what? The estimated cost of supporting this population is over $12 billion. That's right, $12 billion. With the city already struggling with skyrocketing rent, a shrinking budget, and rising public frustration, many New Yorkers are starting to ask, how much more can the city take? Crime rates, economic strain, and political tensions are fueling the debate. Some argue that New York's sanctuary policies are making the situation worse, attracting more undocumented migrants than the city can handle. Others believe that providing aid is a moral obligation, but at what cost? And yet, despite the chaos, New York refuses to back down. The state remains a proud sanctuary for immigrants, embracing its long-standing reputation as a safe haven. But will that ever change? Or is the financial and social burden simply too much to bear? If you're finding these reports eye-opening, don't forget to subscribe. Your support helps us dig deeper, expose the truth, and bring you more shocking insights on what's happening across America. Now let's talk about a state that might not be on your radar, but its numbers will blow your mind. If you thought illegal immigration was only a problem in big cities, wait until you hear what's happening here. With over 360,000 undocumented immigrants, this state is becoming one of the fastest-growing destinations. But why? And more importantly, how are local communities coping with it? Number 4. North Carolina. Illegal immigration is usually associated with border states, but here's something that might shock you. North Carolina has become one of the fastest-growing hubs for undocumented immigrants in America. With over 360,000 illegal immigrants now living in the state, the numbers are climbing at a pace no one expected. But why is this happening? And what does it mean for the people who live here? One major factor is jobs. North Carolina has a booming agricultural industry, and undocumented workers make up a significant portion of the labor force. Farms, poultry plants, and construction companies all rely heavily on immigrant labor, often turning a blind eye to legal status. But here's where it gets messy. Some local communities are now pushing back. Law enforcement agencies are increasingly cooperating with ICE, and new state laws are making it harder for undocumented workers to stay under the radar. The result? A growing divide between those who believe illegal immigrants are essential to the economy and those who argue they're overburdening state resources. And let's talk about the financial side. North Carolina taxpayers are spending hundreds of millions annually on education, healthcare, and public services for undocumented residents. Some school districts are struggling to accommodate non-English speaking students, and hospitals are seeing unpaid medical costs soar. But here's what's even crazier. Despite these challenges, the state remains a top destination for illegal immigration. Why? Because even with crackdowns, jobs are still plentiful and the demand for cheap labor isn't going away anytime soon. With tensions rising and new laws taking effect, one big question remains. Will North Carolina continue to be a magnet for illegal immigration, or will the crackdown force a mass exodus? Number 3. Georgia. Think immigration issues are only hitting Texas and California? Think again. Because sitting quietly near the top of the list is Georgia, with over 400,000 undocumented immigrants. And here's the wild part. It's not just about the numbers, it's about how deeply illegal immigration is shaping the state. Georgia has one of the largest populations of undocumented workers in the U.S., and much of it comes down to the economy. The state is home to major industries like agriculture, hospitality, and construction, sectors that rely on cheap labor. But there's a problem. Georgia is cracking down. New policies are making it harder for undocumented immigrants to live and work in the state. Employers face severe penalties for hiring undocumented workers, and state agencies are increasing cooperation with federal immigration authorities. The effect? Some undocumented workers are leaving, but at the same time, businesses are warning of labor shortages. The construction industry in particular is feeling the squeeze, with some projects delayed due to lack of workers. And then there's the cost. Georgia taxpayers are footing a massive bill for public services used by undocumented residents. Healthcare, education, and emergency services. Some lawmakers argue the state can't sustain these expenses, while others say the economy would collapse without immigrant labor. So, what's the answer? Is Georgia's crackdown the start of a major shift? Or will the demand for labor keep the state as a top destination for illegal immigrants? Before we move forward, don't forget to subscribe so we can keep bringing you these shocking reports. Your support helps us dig deeper and expose the truth. Now, let's talk about a state that might not be on your radar, but its numbers will blow your mind. You wouldn't expect illegal immigration to be a major issue this far north, but guess what? This state has become a massive destination for undocumented immigrants. With over 250,000 undocumented residents, the situation here is different from anywhere else in the country. But why? And what's happening behind the scenes that few people are talking about? Number 2. Washington. Most people wouldn't expect illegal immigration to be a major issue this far north, but guess what? Washington has quietly become one of the biggest destinations for undocumented immigrants in America. With over 250,000 illegal immigrants living in the state, the numbers are only growing, and fast. But what's driving this massive influx? Why is Washington such a major hotspot? The answer comes down to policies and protections. Washington is one of the most immigrant-friendly states in the U.S., offering undocumented residents access to driver's licenses, state-funded health care, and even college tuition assistance. That's right, undocumented students in Washington can qualify for state grants, just like legal residents. But here's where things get even more surprising. The state has completely banned local law enforcement from cooperating with ICE. That means fewer deportations, fewer arrests, and ultimately a rapidly growing undocumented population. But there's another major factor at play: the booming job market. Washington's massive agricultural industry depends heavily on undocumented labor. In the eastern part of the state, apple orchards, berry farms, and vineyards are packed with workers, many of whom have no legal status. Employers rely on this labor force to keep costs low, but guess what? Some communities are starting to push back. They argue that taxpayers are footing too much of the bill, especially when it comes to housing, healthcare, and public education. And then there's the crime debate. Some claim that Washington's lenient policies have led to an increase in gang activity, drug trafficking, and other criminal operations. Others argue that undocumented immigrants are being unfairly blamed for broader societal issues, including homelessness and rising rent costs. The truth? It depends on who you ask. But what's clear is that tensions are rising, and people are paying attention. The question now is, how long can Washington sustain this approach before it reaches a tipping point? Will taxpayers continue absorbing the financial strain, or will public pressure force lawmakers to change course? One thing is for sure, Washington isn't stepping away from this debate anytime soon. Number 1. Arizona. If there's one state that has been at the heart of America's illegal immigration debate for decades, it's Arizona. With over 500,000 undocumented immigrants, this border state has been on the front lines of the crisis for years. But what's happening now is unlike anything before. Arizona has some of the strictest immigration laws in the country, yet illegal immigration keeps increasing. How? Because despite crackdowns, the state remains a prime entry point for migrants crossing from Mexico. And here's the scary part: human smuggling operations have skyrocketed. Cartels are making millions transporting people across the border, often abandoning them in the desert, leaving law enforcement overwhelmed. And then there's the strain on resources. Arizona hospitals are seeing a surge in patients with no insurance, schools are struggling to accommodate thousands of new students, and law enforcement is stretched thin. But here's the kicker: while some are calling for even tougher laws, others argue that undocumented workers are essential for Arizona's economy, especially in agriculture, construction, and service industries. So what's next? Will Arizona double down on its strict policies, or will economic realities force lawmakers to reconsider? Either way, this state isn't stepping out of the immigration debate anytime soon. Illegal immigration is reshaping America in ways most people don't even realize. From the border crisis in Arizona to the policy-driven influx in Washington, every state is dealing with the situation differently, and the consequences are massive. Some states are embracing undocumented immigrants, offering benefits and sanctuary protections. Others are cracking down hard, passing strict laws and ramping up deportations. But one thing is clear: this issue isn't going away anytime soon. So, what do you think? Are states handling this the right way, or is the system completely out of control? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And before you go, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so we can keep bringing you eye-opening content like this. Your support means everything. More shocking insights are coming soon. Stay tuned.